The men and women of House Cawdor are bone pickers, scrap herders, and midden thieves of Necromunda. Their vast empire built upon the discarded scraps of the other clans and bound together by an unshakable faith. The house owes much of its existence to the cult of the Redemption, a splinter sect of the imperial cult that emerged on Necromunda centuries ago. Its preachers proclaiming the doom of the Imperium and the unworthiness of mankind to all who would listen. Of all the houses to entertain the Redemption's demagogues, only the rubbish peddlers of Cawdor took the message so utterly to heart, embracing their own inferiority and pledging their worthless lives to the spreading of the faith. Though faith has done little for the house's wealth, its people have endured where other houses have failed and fallen to the march of time. Now, the clan is equal in size, though not in wealth or status, to several of the other clan houses combined, not least of all because Cawdor has a long history of gathering of outcasts and, many claim, kidnapping the children of other clans. Devotion to the House of the Redemption guides actions of all members of House Cawdor. From their first days in the Orphanarium Fanes, the snatchlings of the house are taught that the doom of the universe hangs eternal over their heads. Only by giving themselves utterly to the Emperor can their otherwise worthless lives have meaning, and only by serving the clan's word-keepers will the Master of Mankind hear their faint prayers. Cawdor men and women live segregated lives, ruled over by the Emperor's word, and existing in a state of poverty extreme even by the standards of Necromunda. Its people make their meager wealth by scavenging through the refuse of the hive, unearthing blessed relics from amongst the rubbish. The cult teaches that material belongings are fleeting, as is the importance of the individual. Thus do Cawdor workers keep only those possessions deemed to be of spiritual significance, while they hide their faces behind masks so that the Emperor may not think them too proud of their individuality. Given the poverty that grips House Cawdor, most of the house's allied gangs favor simple and effective weaponry. The battered autogun, the trusty stub gun, and the rusty knife are all good enough for a Cawdor ganger. In fact, Cawdor gangs have a special talent for restoring discarded guns and blades, scraping together a working weapon from the parts of several others, or making a new weapon onto which they can painstakingly carve scriptures of their faith. Fire is a favored tool of the gangs, for it is simple to use, and like the doom that devours the galaxy, consumes all in its path. Creating incendiary grenades, flamers, and other fire-based weapons is a simple task within a hive, for the flammable fuel and waste lines that run through the city's walls are easily siphoned off. In combat, killing a foe in the white-hot furnace of a well-placed flavor burst, or in the blinding halo of a firebomb, is an almost holy act for a Cawdor ganger. The piteous screams of the heretic as they burn a benediction to the Emperor, proclaiming for all to hear the true majesty of the Redemption. The ideals of the cult of the Redemption thrive in places where the word of the Imperial Creed is but a distant half-heard echo. Cawdor gangs are usually tasked to bring the word of the cult to the shadowy depths of the Underhive, the wilderness between the hives, or the abandoned ruins of places left behind by the relentless march of the millennia. Here, many despair that the Emperor and the Imperium have forsaken them, and so are easy converts to the portents of doom and darkness offered up by the Redemption. Each gang then becomes a church unto itself, servicing a flock of followers, and when they fight back against the interests of the other clans, or the indifference of the Hive Lords, they further cement their position as saviors. Most gangs are ruled by a powerful patriarch, women forbidden to take up arms for the house. And yet, just as the men of Cawdor are driven by their faith, so too are their all-women Cawdor gangs. They have their own wordkeepers and traditions that teach all that in his eyes, warriors for the cause. Some of these female gangs are formed as distorted reflections of the militant orders of the Adeptus Soriatus, with names like the Ash Rose, Covenant, or the Sisters of the Ragged Shroud, and they can be even more ferocious than their male counterparts. The history of House Cawdor is littered with the tales of scrap saints and ash martyrs. Among these stories, the most common is that of Call the Fallen, the first pilgrim of the Red Redemption. So it goes. Call left the shelter of his hive in search of relics in the wilds of Necromunda. Across the wastelands he wandered, and where he went cults sprung up from the dust in his wake. He won countless battles against heretics, monsters, and mutants alike, his righteous soldiers vanquishing the Ember Lords of the Yearning Deeps, and murdering the Dark Arbiters that once ruled the lost hives of Spoil Shadow to a man. Even now, centuries later, Call's masked visage stares down from tumbled wrecks and broken wreck, from tumbled spires and broken wrecks, a reminder that the glory of the redemption lives eternal. Then there are the gangs which have found their own faith amongst the splinters of the redemption. Halberg Halfhand is the pitiless master of the broken ones. After having his spine shattered by an Orlog bullet and dying for days in the Stygian depths of High Primus, Halberg gazed into the abyss of Hive Bottom, and the abyss gazed back. In the depths of his despair, Halberg came to see that only the truly broken can fully understand the faith. And so, once he had crawled back to a settlement, he drew to himself the mangled cast-offs from other Cawdor gangs. He himself stitched back together to be born anew. The broken ones are now a scourge upon Hive Primus, destroying everything in their path, so it might be welcomed into their faith. Their foes are all given the same choice, to have their bones and bodies smashed by Halberg, so they might join his gang, or, if they reject the faith, the finality of the void. Perhaps the greatest living warrior of the redemption is the Thane of Cawdor, Lord Mormire. Legend has it that he rose up from amongst the bone pickers of Hive Primus, making a name for himself in the depths of the Underhive by building blazing heretic pyres and unearthing ancient Minestorum relics. When the old Thane was close to death, he sought out Mormire as his replacement, for, as the story goes, it is each Thane's right to choose a successor from amongst the most faithful of their servants. It is this promise of faith, rewarded with rulership, that drives many Cawdor gang leaders. However, proving worthy of ascension is an elusive task, if it is even possible at all, there being just as many who believe the whole tale is one created by Mormire himself